JR&T. The West Park station where I left you at the last video is just behind me there. So what we'll do now is we'll leave here where we are at the minute, which is Victoria Park, with a rather nice statue of Queen Victoria there. And we'll go across here. Well, point of note though is the actual old, well, it's actually a public toilets building here, because you'll see the other side of that in the picture I put in later in the video to show you how the West Park station used to look before it was all removed. So if we go across the road now, then I'll show you exactly the location of where that used to be. Right, so we're now back across the road. As you can see, there's your beach wall that we've been following, and there's the road there. Now, I mentioned before, see that building there, the cream one that looks like a giant house? It's actually the Grand Hotel. That's been there a long time. So has that granite building there, you can see just behind the roads. That's now public toilet, but that was also here at the time of the station. Okay, so if we use what we've got left here, so the granite here, flooring, which you can see the edging to, that's your walkway, that went all the way down. And then where I'm stood now, right ahead of me, all along here, there would have been a grass bank. And then we come across here, and then across this way here, you would have had a platform on the here. Then you would have had your tracks in the middle. Then you would have had another platform in the station buildings, and they would have taken up basically these two lanes here of the dual carriageway, and maybe even possibly some of that island there where the lamppost is. But that would have been all, this would have all been part of the station back then. Some other interesting things I've noticed, right, you'll notice here there's actually a dip in the floor. The way they used to deal with these dips, because it's quite uneven all the way along, because it's is a beach front, obviously it's naturally not particularly level, but the dips were quite small like this, and with the added expense of building this beach wall, which is wasn't a thing they thought about back when they first started building it, as I mentioned, they had to apply later on to build that. They actually used to, in sections where the track level would have been too low and it wouldn't have made it level enough, they used to level it out with wooden stilts. There is a picture I have as well of the train running across the tracks on those stilts. See, whereas the pathway obviously follows the slope down. Gives you a good idea though of the slope there would have been on the platform on this side, because you would have had this walkway. This walkway would have immediately gone to the grass bank and then the platform. So it would have been shaped quite similarly. And then you went off down. As you can see here, the white cycle track here, that's pretty much the path the train used to take, and then would have gone on and straight up through there, past the building, through the picnic table area there, and along where they now have a lay-by on the dual carriageway for you to park your cars. So what we'll be doing is we'll be following it along the granite path here at the side, which would have put in for the promenade, and we'll work our way up. There is another station we're going to finish at today, which is the first tower station. That's where we'll pick up the next video in the series. But on the way there used to be a small little halt. I'm not sure if there's anything left of that or not, but we'll have a look and see if we can find anything. If nothing else, what I'll do is I'll pinpoint the location and show you where it was. Right, so we're now working our way back down from the West Park site where we were. Some more interesting information about that site. Opened in 1872, so it wasn't actually one of the first 4 stations that were open when the line originally opened in 1870. This one didn't exist. It only actually opened, like I say, 2 years later. It did have, despite the fact of having a shorter life than some of the other stations, 3 name changes. So West Park was its last name, originally named Cheapside Station, and then after that was named West Mount before eventually becoming the West Park station as everybody else knew it. Nice shot there actually of the road train going past. So there you go. Now, as I was saying to you before, this lay-by here, cars were obviously parked at roadside there. You would have had your train going along through this lay-by here. From what I can tell in the pictures and rail maps online, would have been straight through here, just about where the cars are, if not just slightly behind. So we'll keep following this up here. You can see this white line here. Now this is here to separate up the cycle track and the trains so they don't meet each other too often. Some other interesting information is this beach wall I've mentioned in the last video, which was built to protect the railway. As I said, he had to apply to build this. It was something that he planned to build after the actual track itself was first built. But this actual wall itself, the states agreed to it being built obviously because it's here, but they didn't agree to it actually to help the railway, strangely enough. The reason they actually agreed to allow it to be built was more to do with the time it was built more than anything else. So kind of late mid 1800s, the relations between England, or the English in general, and the French was, well, strained at best. Never, not that they've historically were ever that strong back then anyway. And Jersey thought it best, considering how close we were to France, being aligned with England and had been for some time by that point, to have this beach wall here as a defence against the French. So they weren't actually too worried about the railway washing away, or at least the states themselves weren't. The man building it clearly was, but they were more concerned about keeping the French out. So that's the actual reason why it got the go-ahead. It was nothing to do with helping the railway, and primarily to do with keeping the French out, which is why he got permission to build it literally all the way along here until we get to the St Albans end at the end of this section of the line. This line itself, in its entirety, ran from here, always from here, St Helier, all the way through up to St Albans. Later on, it was merged with the second line that was built separately, that ran from St Albans down to Corbière, and the two were merged together in 1895, which is what they reference on the plaque that I showed you in the last video at the original station down there in St Helier. And those two then became one line. They even built, although it wasn't a straight through affair, so they actually had an extra platform, a third platform added on at the St Albans end, where you could transfer from the St Helier train across to the next train that took you up from St Albans end to Corbière. But we'll do more on that when we get to the station. So for now, we'll keep moving our way up here. This wall, you'll actually notice as you go further down, there's a section that's even here, you'll see the cement looks relatively new. The reason for that is that was actually blown apart by the sea a few years back. The sea was so strong it literally made the wall literally almost explode out into the car park area here, and they had to rebuild it, which is why some of it looks newer than others. Stones themselves are as old as everything, but some of these stones areas you can see the difference there between the dark and the light cement where they meet each other there. That's where they've had to patch up the wall where the sea made it come apart. Right, so just a bit further down from here there used to be a small station called Millbrook Halt. It was the later added on station, so it did come along much later in the track's life, in the 1880s. I'll put the exact date down below for you. because I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, we'll keep working our way down. So T-brake just before we work our way down the line. This is the behind the scenes helpers you don't normally see. So this is Blade. And this is kind of off-screen director slash my supposed better half, Erica. So if you see these lurking in the background, these rather sinister looking characters, now you know why. And as you can see, Blade's quite enjoying these chips there.
Why are you filming my food? Chip beef! Who am I kidding? I don't even care.
Right, so this is the site of what was Balazan Halts. As you can see, nothing left at all of where it once was. As far as I'm aware, and what I can tell, because you only have descriptions to go on for Balazan Halt, there is no pictures. And there's not an awful lot of information, but from a description I read from an old newspaper I found in the library, which is all I could reference, I could find to it, apart from it briefly being referenced in the book I've been using for research, is the railway used to come round this way like this, pretty much as the cycle track is doing here between the white lines, and then come round. The platform was actually on this side, and then it would carry on off if we move along here. Straight down through those bushes and then down through and carrying on as it has been doing through the lay-by just where the van turned in there. So with that in mind, nothing an awful lot here left. Nothing I can see railway-wise at all, actually, to be honest, left here. Which isn't overly surprising, because as I said, it may well have come out further than this as well, because as we were saying before, this wasn't as wide as this, so the second lane of this dual carriageway has actually caused two of the stations actually to have to be moved, but they were further up, so I'll show you that when we get further up there. But apart from that, that's it for Balazan Halt. I'm afraid not an awful lot to show, but this is the location of where it would have been anyway. Right, as Erica has just shown me here on the wall, you remember I mentioned to you before about how some of the walls been repaired because it got blown apart a couple of years back. You've got a plaque there that actually tells you 2008, so a fair while ago now. But yeah, see, 100 meters of the wall was torn down during the storm of March 2008. I'm sure if you lived on the coast of the UK, you'll probably remember that anyway. But I just thought that was interesting to show you there. So anyway, like I said, we'll move our way down now to the first tower station and we'll catch up there. So we're going to leave it, there's a German bunker there just at the end there. We're going to leave it there for today. And yeah, I've got some stuff I want to share with you before I go. Just to let people know where this information is, and if you find it interesting, or maybe you might want to look at some of the resources that I've looked at. And do your own research, or just look up in more detail what's going on, because I'm obviously by no means an expert on this railway. Far from it. I've had help from a few people and a few other resources as well. So I'll mention that to you as we get further up, but your railway would have come along here. Just noticing actually. Just wait for these bicycles to go past. Quite an old rusty drainage section there, wondering whether that might have been from the old railway area. Don't see those anymore. Anyway, We'll work our way down here. Like I say, I'll rejoin you up there at the bunker end, and we'll have a chat down there about how I've done this research. Right, that's the end of this video. I'm trying there's not as much to show you as there was in the first one. There was more as we go along. I just want to share a few things. So I want to say thank you firstly to the Disused Railways website, which I'll put a link to in case anybody's interested down below. Where I've got quite a few of the pictures that I'll not only use in these videos but in future videos, not following only this but the Jersey Eastern Railway, which we're doing in a separate series. Also, there's very good research which has been mentioned a few times by a couple of other people on YouTube, which is Rail Maps Online, which has helped me figure out and follow the route properly as it would have been back then. The other thing that I found really useful, and some of the pictures and information has also come from, is actually in my bag. Which is this, it's called Jersey Railway. There's a separate this one that they've done also, which is called the Jersey Eastern Railway, which you'll see in later videos when I do that section. I'm not sure if it's still available anymore, because this one I've actually borrowed from the library, so I was unable to find one. But I'll put the information on it below. I'll also put the ISBN in. So if you do find one, even if it's maybe on eBay or something and you're interested, that's a good resource. It's got pictures, updates, etc. in it. And aside from that, nothing really else left to do except to say goodbye for now, and then I'll see you in the next video again when we continue up here. We'll be going from First Tower, which is on the other side of this bunker, and we'll then be moving on up there, and then we'll be finishing off at Millbrook Station in the next video, so from First Tower to Millbrook. Until then, I'm off, and I'll see you in the next video.
I bet Daddy could pick me up. Let me try and lift him. Hello.